champions and the boxing superstars, where are you? I'm waiting, let's fight. I'm the most avoided boxer. I am the middleweight king. Let's go, fight!
Welcome back, fight fans. Some fighters are born into boxing families, while others are born into struggle. Janibek Alimkhanuly's journey did not begin in a famous gym or a major city. It began in a small village in Kazakhstan, far from television cameras and championship belts. A place where discipline and survival mattered more than dreams.
Жоқ, олар үшін бокс жаспаймын негізі. Өйткені бұл менің өзімнің кішкентай кезімнен.
Janibek Alimkhanuly was born on April 1st, 1993, in Zhilandi, Kazakhstan, a rural village with limited infrastructure and few opportunities for young people. Life in Zhilandi was simple but demanding. Many families lived modestly, and children learned early the value of hard work, respect, and resilience. Entertainment was limited, and organized sports were often one of the few positive outlets available to young people. Sport became that path. Janibek was introduced to boxing at a young age through local training programs. Kazakhstan has a strong tradition of amateur boxing, and even small towns often emphasize fundamental skills rather than showmanship. From early on, coaches noticed something different. Janibek wasn't just strong, he was calculated. He learned how to control distance, set traps, and counterpunch at a young age. Janibek went on to win gold medals at the 2013 World Championships, the 2013 Asian Championships, and 2014 Asian Games, finishing his amateur career with a 308 record before turning professional in 2016.
Oh, and there's a short right hand and a devastating knockdown and another. Oh, and the uppercut floors him. It is over. The uppercut absolutely destroys him.
Janibek made his professional debut on October 29, 2016, in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Janibek's first opponent was Milton Nunez, an experienced fighter who had 50 fights already and been in the ring with guys like Triple G and Daniel Jacobs. Nunez was brought in to test him, and from the opening bell, Janibek immediately established his southpaw jab, using it to control distance and read his opponent.
Well, he's got great experience, 50 fights.
As the round progressed, the difference in class became obvious. Janibek began countering Nunez's with sharp left hands and mixing body shots into combinations. He broke his opponent down and dropped Nunez's twice and won by TKO in the first round, making a huge statement. That fight lit a fire in the young Kazakhstan. Janibek's second professional bout took place soon after his debut. Once again, in Kazakhstan, as his team focused on staying active, gaining rounds and adjusting to the pro game. Across the ring stood Gilberto Pereira dos Santos, a durable opponent who had a record of 14-5. And from the moment the fight started, it was a one-sided beating. Janibek put the pressure on immediately, forcing the action with sharp left hands, body shots, and combination punches. The fight ended by stoppage, giving Janibek his second straight professional victory within a year span. Janibek added 5 more vicious victories to his record. And over the next 2 years, Janibek would go 5-0 with 3 knockouts. By May 2022, Janibek had positioned himself for the WBO Interim World title against Danny Dignam, an undefeated title contender.
Obey my commands at all times, above all, protect yourself at all times. Let's go.
And from the opening bell, Janibek set the tone. He didn't rush, he didn't force exchanges, and he established his jab. Danny tried to stay busy, but Janibek's timing was already apparent. Almost every punch Janibek threw hit its target. In the second round, Janibek shifted gears. He began attacking the body with vicious intent. Left hands to the ribs, short hooks inside, and with less than a minute left in the second round, Janibek knocked out Danny with an uppercut, winning the WBO Interim World Champion. Later that year, the WBO title became vacant, and Janibek was elevated from interim champion to full WBO middleweight champion. But outside the ring, questions still lingered. Was he really the champion? Could he handle the pressure that comes with the crown? And in 2022, those questions were answered when Janibek had to defend his title against Denzel Bentley, a solid opponent from Britain with a 17-1 record. And once the fight started, the difference in tone was noticeable. This wasn't a quick finish like Danny Dignam. This was 12 rounds scheduled, and Bentley fought like he planned to use all of them. Janibek immediately established his southpaw jab. In the first few rounds, Janibek boxed beautifully. He landed the cleaner shots and pushed the pace. He neutralized Bentley's aggression, but Bentley's durability became clear. He wasn't going anywhere. This forced Janibek into something new as a champion, a long tactical fight. As the rounds progressed, Bentley began to find moments, not dominance, but resistance. He crowded Janibek, forced clinches, slowed the rhythm, and this wasn't Bentley winning the fight, but he was making Janibek work. For the first time as a professional, Janibek had to manage fatigue, maintain focus, and stay disciplined over championship rounds. And this was the kind of fight that exposes weaknesses. By the later rounds, Janibek showed why he was champion. Instead of chasing a knockout, he tightened his defense, picked his shots, and controlled the tempo. Bentley remained tough, but Janibek remained composed. No panic and no recklessness. And after 12 rounds, the fight went to the judges' scorecards. The result was a unanimous decision for Janibek. Janibek retained his world titles, and while some expected a more dominant performance, the outcome revealed something more important. This fight wasn't about getting a knockout. It was about growth. Janibek learned how to manage a gritty challenger, how to adjust when the knockout doesn't come, and finish the fight like a true champion. By early 2023, Janibek was firmly established as the WBO middleweight world champion, but his first title defense had been grueling, tactical, and unspectacular. This next fight wasn't about survival. It was about authority. Stephen Butler, a Canadian contender known for physical strength, aggressive style, and willingness to exchange, was selected as Janibek's next challenger. On paper, Butler was dangerous. In reality, he was the perfect opponent for Janibek to send a message. The fight was scheduled for May 13, 2023, at the Stockton Arena in California. A smaller venue, but one that would soon witness something unforgettable. From the opening bell, it was clear this was not the Bentley fight. Stephen Butler came out aggressive, trying to impose physicality early, but Janibek didn't retreat. He welcomed it. Janibek immediately took center ring and increased his punch output. He pressed forward with intent, and within the first round, Janibek began landing clean shots. Left hands down the middle, hooks to the body, and sharp counters whenever Butler rushed in. Midway through the second round, Butler was dropped. The crowd erupted. Janibek wasn't just boxing. He was breaking his opponent. Butler attempted to regroup, but the damage was done. Janibek smelled blood, and another clean left hand sent Butler crashing to the canvas again, this time harder. The referee had no choice but to stop the fight in the second round. After Butler, Janibek wasn't just a champion. He was a problem. A fighter with elite fundamentals, knockout power, championship composure, and now, momentum. This performance opened the door to something bigger. Because in boxing, timing is everything. Momentum can open doors that were once sealed shut. One dominant performance can change how an entire division sees you. And in 2023, Janibek had momentum, the kind that forces champions to make uncomfortable decisions. Coming off a devastating knockout victory, Janibek wasn't just winning anymore. He was demanding bigger fights, and that momentum would soon collide with another undefeated world champion, Vincenzo Gualtieri. When the fight was officially announced, it immediately stood out. This wasn't a mandatory or a soft defense. This was WBO champion versus IBF champion, two undefeated title holders. The fight was scheduled for October 14, 2023 at the Fort Bend Epicenter, and from the opening bell, the difference in class became apparent. Janibek immediately took center ring, establishing his jab, his foot positioning, and his calculated pressure. Gualtieri stayed behind a high guard, attempting to conserve energy and weather the storm. But this wasn't a storm. It was a slow suffocation. In the early rounds, Janibek focused on measuring distance, targeting the body. Gualtieri struggled to land clean punches. Janibek's footwork kept him just outside danger, while his counters landed with consistency. By rounds 3 and 4, Janibek increased his volume. He began chaining combinations. Gualtieri's toughness kept him standing, but his offense faded. He was no longer fighting to win rounds, he was fighting to survive them. In round 5, the outcome became clear. Gualtieri's movement slowed, and he wasn't throwing any punches. Midway through round 6, Janibek unleashed a series of unanswered shots that hurt Gualtieri, and the referee stepped in and stopped the fight. This wasn't just another victory. This was validation. Janibek proved that he's one of the best fighters in the world. But instead of slowing down, Janibek went right back to work. As IBF champion, Janibek was required to face the division's mandatory challenger. That challenger was Andrei Mikhailovich, an undefeated fighter who had waited patiently for his opportunity. This wasn't a voluntary defense. This was a fight Janibek had to take. Andrei Mikhailovich entered the fight as an undefeated contender that was viewed as a pressure fighter, durable, and willing to take risks. For him, this was the moment of a lifetime. For Janibek, it was a potential trap. Once the fight started, Janibek focused on establishing his jab, controlling distance, and limiting Mikhailovich's pressure. Mikhailovich tried to close the gap, throwing looping shots and attempting to force exchanges. But Janibek's footwork kept him out of danger. The cleaner punches came from the champion, and as the fight progressed, Janibek began turning defense into offense. He timed Mikhailovich's entries. He countered with straight left hands and began attacking the body consistently. Mikhailovich showed toughness, but his punches began to slow. The pressure he brought early started working against him. By the later rounds, the difference in class became undeniable. Janibek increased his punches. He stayed defensively responsible, picked shots instead of forcing them. Mikhailovich absorbed punishment, but the accumulation was clear. He was no longer dictating anything. He was a punching bag. Eventually, the sustained pressure and clean punching took their toll. Janibek trapped Mikhailovich and landed a series of unanswered shots and forced the referee to intervene. The stoppage wasn't sudden, it was earned. After Mikhailovich, Janibek's resume included unified world titles, multiple successful defenses, dominant wins over champions and contenders. After becoming a unified champion, Janibek could no longer pick opponents freely. Mandatory challengers would now dictate his path. And from the IBF rankings emerged Anoel Ngamisenge, an undefeated contender with size, strength, and nothing to lose. Anoel entered the fight as a physically imposing middleweight, an undefeated professional and a pressure-oriented fighter with raw power. He wasn't polished like Janibek, but he had momentum. For Anoel, this was the moment his entire career had been building toward. From the opening bell, Anoel attempted to establish himself physically. He pressed forward. He threw wide shots. He tried to force exchanges, but Janibek didn't panic. He didn't retreat recklessly. He did what champions do. He measured in the first few rounds. Janibek focused on counterpunching and lateral movement. Anoel's aggression was real, but inefficient. Many punches hit gloves. Others missed entirely. Janibek's shots landed clean and deliberate, and as the fight progressed, Janibek began to assert dominance. He timed Anoel entries, countered with sharp straight lefts, mixed head and body attacks. Anoel forward pressure slowed. Each missed punch cost energy. Each clean counter drained confidence. This was no longer a competitive fight. It was a boxing lesson. By the 5th rounds, the fight had settled into a pattern. The challenger showed toughness, but the outcome was inevitable. Eventually, the accumulation of clean punches was too much for the challenger. Janibek hit him with a left hook that sent him to the canvas. The referee stepped in and stopped the fight. Anuel was still standing, but no longer defending himself. The stoppage was decisive. Janibek had once again done his job. After that performance, all eyes turned to the next biggest matchup on the horizon. A three-belt unification bout against WBA middleweight champion Arislandi Lara. This fight would have brought together 3 of the 4 major middleweight belts and been a major event on the boxing calendar heading into early December 2025. Janibek's knockout win put him in position to become one of the few middleweights in history to hold multiple titles simultaneously. A defining moment for any champion. But on December 2nd, 2025, it was announced that unified champion Janibek Alimkhanuly had tested positive for a banned substance, causing his unification fight against Arislandi Lara to be pulled from the card at the last moment. The test in question identified meldonium, a substance banned under World Anti-Doping Agency rules and prohibited in competition by most major athletic commissions and anti-doping authorities. The adverse finding came from a sample taken by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association during routine screening procedures. Immediately, one of the most anticipated middleweight unification bouts in recent years was cancelled, and Janibek was removed from the event. Now the question is not who Janibek will fight next. The question is whether he will fight again in the near future. Because if the B sample confirms the result, the consequences could be severe. The WBO has outlined possible consequences, including suspension and the potential vacating of his title. The IBF has not publicly commented yet, but in similar cases, champions often face belt stripping and forced inactivity. What do you think will happen next? Comment below and subscribe for more boxing documentaries. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe.